Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the EZPZ Show brought to you by Sportasonic. You can listen to every episode of the EZPZ Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or anywhere else you usually listen to your podcast on. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Now let's get into the episode. Today is July 26, 2023, and on today's episode of the EZPZ Show, we talk about some big contract news across all kinds of sports, NBA and NFL. Big names getting some big money. We also discuss the shocking news of Bronny James out of USC on Monday, apparently, and it's good news that he's okay, obviously, and we talk about it more. But the cardiac arrest and everything, and prayers to the James family first and foremost, and yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing he's all good now for the most part. He's recovered. And lastly, we talk about some college football, some preseason predictions. We get started with what should be the most fun conference to watch this season, and that's the Big Ten. We give our breakdown of the East and West divisions, share our big winners, big losers, share a couple of future bets also. And so, that and much more will be discussed on today's episode.
What's up, everybody? It's Peyton here. We'll get going on this podcast. First thing we want to talk about today is, man, it was a busy day in sports yesterday. With all the big contract signings, starting off with Jaylen Brown, 5-year, $304 million. A lot of people disagree with that. I will say I'm probably one. I know Ben Shapiro is, but Celtics fans around the globe are happy, I think. Leading up to Saquon finally signing just a 1-year deal for $11 million, and then finally capping it off today was Justin Herbert signing a 5-year, $262.5 million contract. Good for the Chargers, locking up their quarterback, their franchise quarterback of the future. I mean, although I'm an LSU and Burrow fan, naturally, of course, Justin Herbert's definitely cemented himself as one of the top players in the game, definitely one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. So good on the Chargers for locking up their guy. I guess, Brad Stevens also feels the same way. If you're a Celtics fan, Brad Stevens feels the same way about Jaylen Brown. So props to him for being able to lock up his guy. $304 million fully guaranteed. That's something to behold right there. Zach, how you feel about that?
Is it fully guaranteed, or is it like worth up to $304 million?
I'm almost positive that it's fully guaranteed.
Well, the price of basketball players just went up. And essentially these teams, if they feel like there's a certain player there that's going to bring them that championship, then of course they're going to do anything to lock them down. If you want to talk about a certain player's worth, I guess I'm not really in a position to do that, but I will say wholly overpay. And it just doesn't really make much sense to pay that man that much money. Because now, I don't know.
He's not the best on his team, right?
No, I don't think so.
And by the way, I just looked it up. It is fully guaranteed.
It's fully guaranteed. Jeez.
304. That's 69. I think towards the end of his contract. I know it goes by percentages per year. I believe it's $69 million in his last year.
I mean, not to say he's a good player. He is.
No left.
That's just an absurd amount of money for a player who's not the best on the team, who is shown to be turnover happy in very clutch moments.
I mean, let's be real. I mean, they really relied on him in the Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 this year, and for lack of a better term, he really flopped. I mean, 8 turnovers in a crucial game. I don't know. That's the last we saw of him. So obviously, recency bias is going to be a thing, but man, that's not what you want to see from your. I mean, at this point, he's your franchise player now. That's not what you want to see from him.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics, it looks like they got about, a 2-3 year window now with Porzingis coming on the team that they're really pushing for this championship. So, I mean, like I said, I get the move. I get paying the man so he has to stay on your team. What? I don't know. Why pay him that much? I'm not entirely sure. It just, whole lot of money for someone who's not your primary man, and for a guy who's not going to be double teamed, every night. He's not going to be the guy you give the ball to in the last possession unless Tatum is getting triple teamed, I mean, and even then, you're dumping it down to Porzingis,
So you're saying Jaylen Brown's your number 3 guy on the Celtics?
I don't know. I'd like to see how Porzingis fits in first. Then I could comfortably say one way or the other, how he's going to fit in as far as,
no doubt. Obviously,
ball handler. I mean, well, let me think. Who they got? Yes. Who they have their starting 5? What is it? It's going to be Tatum.
Marcus Smart.
No, they traded him. They traded him.
That's right. They did trade him.
That's what I'm saying. I got to figure out who they still have on their team. They still have Robert Williams?
I believe so, but Porzingis would probably boot him to the bench, right?
I mean, I don't know if you really wanted to. You could put Porzingis at the 4.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I really liked Marcus Smart with the Celtics, though. I really did. I think Marcus Smart was kind of the glue that held them together.
And they traded him to the Grizzlies, pretty sure.
Yes, I do remember that. Slip of mind.
Yes, yes. It's been a crazy offseason in the NBA, and for sure. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously the Celtics are definitely going to be contenders. I mean, you really can't. I guess the only thing you could complain about is the price of the contract, and that's obviously what most people are going to complain about, not really the player himself. So, all in all, good deal. Not really. The right deal, probably so. I mean, Celtics are probably going to win a championship in the next 2 or 3 years. Granted, really, the NBA runs through the West right now, but I mean, out of the Sixers, Celtics, and the Bucks, I mean, that's about. Am I missing a team for the East?
Maybe Heat.
No, I mean seriously.
Lillard to Miami, maybe.
Oh yeah, if that still happens, the Heat are definitely going to be real contenders. I'm not saying it was impressive as an 8 seed what they did in the championship this last year, or what they did in the playoffs.
Let's be honest, they weren't really a true 8 seed. They came into the playoffs with a lot of injuries, and they went through the season with a lot of injuries. I mean, that was your number 1 seed in the East last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they really didn't lose a whole lot. So. Yeah, they came in as an 8 seed, but they were. I think everybody knows that they were a lot better than an 8 seed.
All right, yeah. I mean, I guess I'll put it like this: I wouldn't expect a team that has Adebayo to be able to stop Embiid, to stop Giannis, or to stop who's the other team I mentioned for the East?
Porzingis or Williams, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he can stop. He can stop one or the other, but not both of them. And that's what I'm saying. It'd be interesting to see what that Celtics lineup is going to look like. I'm pretty sure Celtics fans out there kind of have an idea of what it's going to look like. I just can't think of the roster off the top of my head and what the depth looks like. Because if depth's an issue, then yes, Porzingis will be at the 5, and they'll slide Williams to the bench just to have that strong contribution. Is Malcolm Brogdon still there?
Did they trade him?
I don't know. Regardless, the West is a lot more competitive than the East in the NBA this year. But I mean, the Celtics are making the right moves to be the contender in the East. I mean, who you got to run through now with Harden probably, jumping ship to the Clippers. I mean, you really got to worry about the Bucks.
What kind of offseason moves do the Bucks make? I'm a big Giannis fan, but the moves they made kind of escaped my mind. I know they locked up Chris Middleton and
Lopez,
but did they make any other big splashes in free agency?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
So they're just kind of running their back with the team, kind of pulling a Pelicans, just running their back with who they got.
Yeah, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, and they're one of those teams that's just going to chalk it up to the it was a fluke that we lost to the playoffs.
They just can't run into the Heat again.
Yeah, and like I said, let's be honest. Really, it's the West that you have to be concerned with this year. I mean, just about every powerhouse is moving to the West. Damian Lillard's the only one that wants out. Um,
Can you blame him?
uh no, no.
And honestly, I mean, Miami is a very good destination for somebody like Dame. It, they just went to the finals. They have Jimmy Butler, pair him with another superstar. Adebayo potentially, if they can get a trade done without involving him. Which, if I'm the Heat, I'm not giving up Adebayo to get another guard. I don't think they can afford to do that really. Um, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that trade too.
Yeah, I agree. If it even comes about, because I mean, last I was seeing, I mean, they weren't even close to a trade. Obviously, rumors are coming out that the Heat were offering, this amazing, flurry of picks, and it really was centered around Tyler Hero. And I mean, if you break it down, Damian Lillard for Tyler Hero, that's laughable.
Oh, no doubt. And I'm I'm under the impression I don't really care for trading picks. Me, I don't think trading a proven player for picks is necessarily a smart move. I don't think that it's panned out for somebody like Sam Presti in Oklahoma City. I mean, he has a million first round picks, and I mean they can't even make the playoffs. So at what point do you say it's kind of worthless? I mean, I'd rather go after a proven player like Dame and then get picks, and maybe that's the same thing that the Trailblazers think.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm with all that. It's just, sorry, my dog was barking like crazy. I had to go take care of him. So yeah, I guess that's that. Moving on, so that way we don't talk about this one dude's contract for the rest of the podcast. Moving on.
Yeah, let's
Um,
move on to another contract.
um,
Saquon finally signed.
yeah, we just move on to the NFL in general. Saquon, yes, the running back strike holdout is over. The first running back cracks, and just like that, the foundation of the whole, we deserve more, we're worth more. It's over just like that. I mean,
I mean,
it was fun while it lasted. I think running backs kind of realized they need to get what they can get while they can get it. Hate to say it, it's one of those positions on the field where I mean I don't care how good you are, you're only going to be productive for so long. Obviously, there's a couple of unicorns, outliers, however you want to call them, but I
yeah,
don't know.
I
Unfortunately, in the
mean,
NFL, it's
they
not one
just
of
take
those
a beating.
positions. I mean, yeah, yeah, but I mean,
I think they probably take the worst beating for any position, really. I mean, when you're not running the ball, you're passing pass pro. If you're not in pass pro, you're running a route, getting kind of shoved up on there. I mean, there's not a play that goes by that you're not really taking any contact. Wears on your legs, definitely. I mean, making all those cuts and trying to churn for extra yards. It's just a really brutal position to play in. And honestly, now though that Saquon has signed this, the other running backs obviously, and Saquon included in this, but the running backs still definitely hold their value higher than they're being paid. So it'll be interesting to see the future of running backs in the league. Maybe a lot of running backs try to transition to more of a wide receiver type of role, or I mean, what's the future look like?
I mean, that's a good question, and like I was touching on earlier. Really, unless you're a unicorn, you're really not that valuable in the NFL. Hate to say it, but that's just how it is. That's just the nature of the beast. At the end of the day, there's a thousand other guys the same height, same weight that can run decent, around the same speed as you. What makes you special? And unfortunately for running backs, there's not much that just distinguishes them from the next running back, and that's why every draft there's like 50 running backs that go, and that's why some random guy from the third or fourth round will have a good year for out of nowhere. I mean, it's just because I mean, let's be honest here. You're as good as your own line. You're as good as your play
Yep,
caller, and I mean, it's
just
just
about to
really,
say that.
it's really just it's. I hate to say that running backs aren't special, but I mean, like I said, besides the selective few, they really, really aren't, and that's why they just get rotated so frequently. I mean, it's just, all you really need is 2 or 3 contracts out of them and you can figure it out.
Hey, I will say that I think Saquon has the potential to be one of those backs. I don't think he's necessarily showed it thus far in his career. But I mean, if you remember him at Penn State, man, he was an animal at Penn State. Receiving, running, returning punts, kickoffs, or not punts, but kickoffs. I mean, he was electric at Penn State. So maybe we see that version of Saquon, and he opts for a big payday next year.
Yeah, and I mean, he definitely shows he's definitely shown a lot of flashes in the NFL too. It's just, I mean, like I said, like Saquon is one of those people. By the way, I mean, I wouldn't call him like a Derrick Henry, but he's definitely one of the running backs in the NFL. Whenever you say, "Oh, let's top 5 running backs in the NFL right now," Saquon's probably one of the first ones you list off. So I mean, he's definitely got that it factor. But once again, he's been kind of riddled with injuries, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Even I mean, his first year, I think he tear his ACL his first year.
I know it was like not career ender, a season, and it feels like he's had like several season-ending injuries. So I don't know why I get that feeling about him, but I just feel like I rarely see him.
I think he's had a few ankle injuries, but I think he had one significant knee injury, maybe his first year, maybe his second year. I can't recall off the top of my head, but I mean, yeah, that's definitely played a part in him not unlocking his full potential. I think it's still in there though.
Yeah, for sure. So, overall, my opinions, Saquon, how much? 11 million.
Yep, 1 year, 11 million.
I mean, good for him. I think he got a lot of money out of it. Giants made the right move, getting their guy locked down for another year. I'm really not sure about the point of that because it's not like they're Super Bowl contenders or anything. But for a guy who's such a beneficial player to their team and their system they got going on, it's definitely important to get the man his money. You know, jury's still out. Jury's still out if he's going to stay or not. I don't know if we're going to have like another basically Dalvin Cook next year is going to be Saquon, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense for both sides. Giants, you say they're not contenders, but I think they think they're contenders. I mean, made the playoffs last year. I don't think they're contenders either, but I think they do. They do think so. But it makes sense for both sides. You get Saquon for another year if you're the Giants, and if you're Saquon, you get a year as another contract year, so you get to prove your worth for another year. I mean, $11 million. I mean, let's be reasonable here. That's a lot of money to play football. I know we all say that running backs don't get paid, but I mean, $11 million is a lot.
Yes, and some running backs get paid. Most of them do not. Yeah. But yeah, let's good for Saquon. I say he got the money he was looking for. I guess he seems like he compromised pretty fairly, and 1 year contract leaves his options open for the for seasons after this one.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's move on to another football player, Justin Herbert. 5 years, $262.5 million. Not quite Jaylen Brown money, but money indeed.
And once again, the common denominator with all these players and all these teams, with the new contracts is smart move on the Chargers. This has been a good year for quarterbacks, if I'm not mistaken.
Without a doubt, and I mean, 5 years from now, we'll look back on this deal and think they got a steal probably.
Yeah,
with how the quarterback market's gone.
Yeah, yes, most definitely, and who knows? Herbert may be the guy to be on season 2 for quarterback in the Netflix special. Great show, by the way. I don't know if you've watched it.
I haven't gotten around to watching it, no, but I believe it was Kirk Cousins on there. Or no, Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, both of them, yeah. and Mariota.
Who? No,
anyways,
big Marcus Mariota fan here. But yeah, good on the Chargers though. Locking them up 5 years. I mean, unless I don't know if he has no trade clause or what. Um, but I mean, you got him for another 5 years. I mean, he's shown that he's one of the great young talents in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And people usually do they kind of have the argument between Burrow and Herbert, who's the better quarterback. I mean, I'll hate to compare players, but especially being a big LSU fan, it's let's be honest, only one of them is going to be a serious contender for the MVP next year. And granted, that has to do with the weapons around you at the same time. Not to say the Chargers don't have any any good
I
weapons,
was about to say,
but I mean, let's be honest. Bengals offense got talent at the wazoo. Burrow, I mean, he's the man. Granted, I wouldn't say he has as much throw power as Herbert, but
I don't think that necessarily
you
makes
know,
entire quarterback. Though I know a lot of people get infatuated with the arm strength and the deep ball ability, but I mean, this. There's a lot more to.
really throw power only really matters. I feel like if you have a tall and speedy wide receiver, I mean, not necessarily even tall, just a speedy guy. I mean, look at Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. I mean, Mahomes, all he had to do is just throw it down the field, pretty much anywhere, just past the coverage. That's all that mattered because Hill would go catch up to it. I'm not saying the Chargers have a Tyreek Hill in their team, but um, to go back to the point at hand, yeah, good for Justin Herbert. I think he definitely deserved the money.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I think he's going to continue to prove that he's a top quarterback in the NFL, and I'm sure I feel like once all these veterans are gone, I mean, who are we going to have to look on? Mahomes,
That's the
Burrow,
exciting
Herbert,
time.
Jackson.
Allen. I mean, we're
So
really already
yes,
seeing
Allen,
it.
thank you.
I think Matt Ryan has retired now, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, Philip Rivers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. We're really seeing a new era of quarterback, and it's really exciting to see all these people that I grew up watching retiring, but a new era and some rivalries already being established. Maybe Mahomes Burrow or Mahomes Allen. Herbert still hasn't gotten that playoff win, but I suspect it's coming this year.
Yeah, they definitely have the path to get there, and I think that's that's another reason why they had to lock their man down because they're definitely going to be some serious contenders for years to
Without
come.
doubt. Well, moving on, we'll spend a little bit of time on this. It was just kind of a puzzling move made by the Saints today, but signing Jimmy Graham of all people kind of seems like a retirement deal, though, 1 year deal.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen if it was a true retirement deal, I've seen players sign a 1 day deal before, and I mean, just that way they can get their, say, hey, their last contract is with whatever team they're with. So is Jimmy Graham actually going to be part of the Saints production this year? That remains
We'll see.
remains to be seen.
I mean,
But I
obviously
think it's a
we're not at
nostalgia thing. I don't
practices.
know.
Obviously, we're not at practices. We don't see. Has there been growth from Jawan Johnson? Has there been a regression there? What's going on with that? Just kind of like I said, kind of a confusing move. We'll see though. Taysom Hill, what's he going to do? Is he going to play tight end? Is he still your gadget guy? What I mean, like I said, I don't know. We're not at practice. Just just kind of a weird move. No, I don't think anybody saw it coming. Matter of fact, I think he flew down for a workout yesterday, and I don't think it was even reported on.
Yeah, no, because no one's heard that name in years.
He made the one-handed catch against the Saints in the playoffs when he was with the Bears. Walked off the field, and legend has it nobody's seen him since.
Pretty much, pretty much.
Yeah, we'll move on to a little bit more of a somber subject. Bronny James collapsing at a USC practice or workout, went into cardiac arrest. You hate to hear that. Really, really just made my heart drop. I mean, especially a young person like that, it really makes you think. Like, man, that those kind of issues really don't discriminate against age, race, anything. Really kind of, I don't want to say hits home because obviously, I mean, I'm not Bronny James or closely involved with him, but I mean, being a young male myself, just kind of scary that it can happen to somebody that's so active like that. And I just want to say thank God that he did it in front of the USC training staff. I mean, who could you imagine how bad it would have been if he would have done it like in his sleep or something?
Yeah, no, it's a all things considered, and I mean he was out of ICU pretty much before reports even started circulating that it happened. It happened Monday, July 24th, I believe during the practice, from what I was reading, and he's already out of ICU as of Tuesday morning. So good for him. God was watching over him for sure, and our thoughts and prayers for the James family. I know this. I mean, that's got to be difficult. I couldn't imagine hearing that about a family member. And like you said, especially when it's active, it just shows that no one's invincible. But on the brighter side, this also shows that at least it's much more than sports. I mean, I saw pretty much everyone on Twitter, whether there's obviously a lot of haters out there for LeBron James. Um, I'm not the biggest fan of him myself, but like I said, it's beyond that. At the end of the day, it's an athlete. He's a son, a brother, a friend to a lot of people, closely watched. So it's just great news that he's okay. Scary, of course, but at the end of the day, he's all good to go. Props to the USC training staff doing what they had to do to give him the proper care until he could get into more proper care. And I mean, such a quick turnaround because I know we saw the situation with DeMar Hamlin last season in the NFL, and I mean everyone was scared to death for quite a few days. It seemed like. So I mean, just there's such a quick turnaround for Bronny, which is great to hear. Obviously it helps to have youth on your side in the body, and God can do amazing things.
No doubt.
But
And I know the technology nowadays is, I mean, it's incredible. A guy I work with, he had a heart attack on a Thursday and he was back at work Monday. He was at the hospital Saturday. So
that's
it's
crazy.
like 95% blockage, too. It's not, it wasn't just a minor heartache either. I mean, heart attack.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
yeah. So, and I mean, he showed me like they went in through his wrist like a little pinhole almost, and it was the most incredible thing I've seen. So thank God that we have the technology that we have now. I know that those aren't always preventable. You can't see them coming ever, or sometimes I guess you can, but most of the time you can't. Um, but man, thank God that Bronny got the proper care he needed. I mean, hopefully he can continue his basketball career with no issues. I know
Mm-hmm.
Sharif O'Neal, Shaq's son, had some heart issues, and wow, he was at UCLA, and he's still able to play basketball. So hopefully we'll see that from Bronny, make a full recovery.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It reminds me of that the guy from Florida. I'm not sure if he collapsed
Keaton
because of a heart
Johnson,
issue. Possibly.
Keaton,
Oh, what?
Keaton,
Maybe I don't know.
he was
I
at
can't
Kansas
remember. I mean, it
State
was
this
during a
past year.
game or something.
Yeah, it was the Florida State game actually.
Hmm.
I think he
Yeah.
he, he was playing at Kansas State. He was part of their huge tournament run this past year.
Yes, I believe so. I believe so. Now that you say the name.
Yeah, those heart incidents really are terrifying. Like I said, like you said, thoughts and prayers of the James family. Uh, Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see anybody else go through that for a loved one, especially a child. So doing what he loves too. It's not like he was hurting anybody, wasn't doing any harm to anybody. Just doing something he loves, and just really terrifying incident.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, once it just to sum it all up, wrap this up here. It's just glad he's okay. And like I said, I mean, I know, I know that obviously the James family is going to get the best care they can possibly get, and especially for his son of the family, they care about him a lot. So I know he's in good hands, and he'll probably make a speedy recovery. And I mean, he'll probably be playing this season, and it'll be news again whenever he plays his first game.
Yeah. I'm sure he's eating tacos for Taco Tuesday tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. LeBron don't mess around about that.
No doubt. So, well, we'll move on to something. I mean, totally different. So Zach and I, just while it's ramping up, I think we wanted to cover really a conference a week for college football, a Power Five conference a week, I should say. I think we might do the group of five as a whole, maybe towards the end, like closer to football season. However, I think we wanted to cover a Power Five conference each week. And today, I think we're going to do the Big Ten, what a lot of people are considering to be the best conference in football this year. And
Boo.
it is kind of hard to argue with that. I'm an LSU fan. SEC is always in the running for that, if not definitely the best, usually up there. So an argument can be made that they are the best conference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sure, you want to start with the West or the East, or you want to know? I mean, do you have like a generic? Hopefully, you have it broken down by division. I don't know.
Yeah, I do.
If you do or not. Okay.
So I'll just run through.
I say start with East. I say start with East.
Yes,
we'll
the East is definitely
we'll save the best for last.
The East is the better one, huh? With Michigan and Ohio State, Penn State.
Oh, my bad. I thought they were the West.
No, they're the East.
Yeah, no, they're East. They're the East. Yep, they're the East.
Yep. So, we'll start with the West then. So I'm just kind of, I'm just going to kind of quickly fly through the West because, like you said, the East is stacked, honestly. And that's not taking anything away from any of the teams in the West, but for lack of a better phrase, I mean, some of them just really aren't interesting. Now, they do have a few very interesting teams, such as Wisconsin,
such as Northwestern,
Nebraska.
I mean, Northwestern got a lot of news going on lately. I don't know what you talk about. You want to talk about interesting? Northwestern is the team in the Big Ten that is interesting.
They certainly are that. Some news.
Coach O should have been the head coach there.
Some news coming out about Michigan too yesterday. So I'll kind of cover some. And Zach and I will talk about both of the. We'll both talk about all these teams together, but we'll start off. This is just my predictions. Each team that I think is going to finish in order. So who I have winning the West is going to be Wisconsin. I know they have a new coach in Luke Fickell, but I think Fickell's an incredible coach. And if you're unfamiliar with Luke Fickell, he's been the coach of University of Cincinnati. And even brought the first Group of Five team to a playoff with Cincinnati. He built a juggernaut at Cincinnati, if we're being honest. For a Group of Five team, I mean, they competed with Power Five teams week in, week out. Even Alabama that year, they really, I think they lost by 14. Could be wrong there. It might have been worse than that, but it really didn't feel like it was just a complete blowout that game. It felt like Cincinnati, if they could get a big play, they were in position to win that game. But getting back to the subject at hand, they did lose some players to the transfer portal, including their quarterback Graham Mertz, who transferred to Florida. But I think they upgraded their quarterback, picking up Tanner Mordecai, who was the former quarterback of Oklahoma University and Southern Methodist University. Yeah, I don't know if you remember those, Zach, but Tanner Mordecai was the quarterback under Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. And the year that Baker Mayfield left for the draft, he was actually in a quarterback competition with Kyler Murray. Now, I don't think he was ever really in contention for the starting job, but he was a solid quarterback at SMU last year through for 3,524 passes, 33 touchdowns on 288 completions on 443 attempts. Pretty solid quarterback there. He does have Power 5 experience, but being that he's been in a Group of Five team in a Group of Five conference, albeit probably the best Group of Five conference in the American Athletic. How does he project to a Power Five team? I think he's going to be okay, though. I think he'll be pretty solid in what Wisconsin needs for year one under Fickle. We'll see what they do from there on. Another player that I have an eye on for Wisconsin is Braylon Allen, kind of their senior leader. He's their tailback. Ran for 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns on 230 carries last year. Let's see if he can build off of that and really become a dynamic running back like what we know Wisconsin has had in the past. Wisconsin always has a stacked offensive line and a great running back. So he might be the next guy up.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and obviously, I think for Wisconsin to be, I think they're going to win the West, most definitely. It's their competition's Iowa, and anyways, their wide receivers need to step up. And what little I know about college football, I can tell that the wide receivers are going to be the weak point of this offense. I'm not really sure what scheme they run. I know they have a pretty good offensive coordinator. Their staff overall is great. I mean, they really, if you want to develop as a player, I think that's one of the colleges you want to go to.
Yeah, especially as a goal lineman or running back.
Yes, and which I mean, I think they're going to probably have one of the better running games in the country. If do I dare say the best? Probably not, but we're definitely one of the better ones. Defense. Who's their? I'm not even going to try to say the dude's last name. He's a linebacker. I'll give it a shot. Maima Njongmeta. I think I butchered that.
There's no way you got that right.
No, but anyways, he's going to be the best. One of their best defensive player. He's definitely going to have to be their captain. They got a lot of returning starters on their defense. Granted, the secondary doesn't really have that many people returning, but front seven looking pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, defensively, they really didn't get gutted by the transfer portal like I thought they would after losing their head coach. So, but moving on to Iowa, I do have Iowa finishing second in the West, behind Wisconsin. So Iowa not exactly known for their offensive abilities. Definitely a defensive team and special teams type of team. Always have really been like that under Kirk Ferentz. I don't exactly know how to pronounce that, but they did get Michigan's backup quarterback who actually led them to the playoffs 2 years ago in Cade McNamara. I'm sorry. Well, I wonder how he can do or how he performs under this Iowa coaching staff. I mean, obviously, like I said, they're not much of an offensive team, but it seems like they always have a solid offensive line and a great tight end. I mean, yes. George Kittle, Hawkinson. I mean, they have produced a lot of tight ends into the NFL. Not just average tight ends either. Very, very good tight ends.
Yeah, I know you touched on it already, but yes, defense is definitely not the weak point of that team, and it's not even like they don't have the talent on offense. I mean, obviously, they don't have the most talent in the NCAA, but I mean, I'd say as far as actual players are concerned, they really shouldn't have anything to worry about. It's just the actual production stinks. Yes, it amazing. If you wanted to be truly amazed by the sport of college football with that, yes, but I mean just like the fact that college football can vary so much, you need to watch Iowa's offense because I mean, talk about wasted talent.
It's unbelievable.
Yes, you go to Iowa. Obviously, the O-line, tight ends, yeah, they're going to be at worst case scenario good. And I mean, I don't know. I think the Cade coming in is going to really help them a lot. I sure hope so. I don't know. Now that I say it out loud, I'm not sure much can help that offense.
No, I'm not either.
Step in the right direction, but I mean, I don't know.
Cade's a good quarterback.
One of the worst offensive coordinators in the league.
Yeah.
I say in the league, but in the NCAA, and
Yeah.
then obviously that performance output is not pretty.
I mean, let's be honest though. The coach might be on the hot seat this year. Iowa is a predominantly like a perennial challenger for the Big Ten. I mean, you gotta wonder they have to be tired of subpar offensive play at this point. I mean, like we've talked about, they're so good defensively, but in this day and age, that only gets you so far. You have to be able to put up points, especially against the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Alabamas, the Georgias, and so on and so forth. You have to be able to score. If you can't score, you're not going to be successful.
Right, yeah, I think time and time again it's been proven, at least in the college, that your offensive play is going to outdo your defensive play. I don't care how good your defense is. If there's an offense that's just as good, that offense is going to win 9 times out of 10.
You're even starting to see that in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. It really don't matter, how good your system is or your coaches, your schemes. At the end of the day, if an offense is just as powerful as it can be, then you really don't stand a chance as a defense. But with that being said, I think Iowa's got it easy this year as far as their schedule is concerned.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
Yeah, so, I don't think worst case scenario. They lose 4 games, which is a pretty good worst case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Iowa, I'd like to see more than 4. I mean, less than 4 losses, but
yes, absolutely. I got them going 9-3. I got them going 9-3 with the. I got them losing their last game of the season to Nebraska, and obviously Penn State and Wisconsin are most likely going to be losses.
Yep,
playing both those games away. Other than that, they really got an easy schedule. You may have a toss-up game against Iowa State, toss-up game against Minnesota, and that's about it.
Yeah, so Minnesota is actually my third team in the West. I really don't have much on Minnesota, or full disclosure, I really don't have much on the remaining 4 teams in the West, just because I was focused so much on the East. I kind of ran out of time, if I'm being honest. But Minnesota, PJ Fleck's been there. He's a good head coach. At some point, you want to see, if you're a Minnesota fan, you want to see them kind of get over the hump and win a Big Ten championship. Now, obviously, easier said than done with teams with giants like Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State in your way on the other side. However, you don't have to play in their division. So if you win the West, which obviously your top 3 teams are more than capable of winning. So I think, like I said, Minnesota's finishing third in my predictions. However, that could easily be number 1 for them. Although I will say they do start with a new quarterback for the first time in a long time. So we'll see how that goes.
You want to try to say his last name?
No.
Fair enough. I'll give it a go. How do you even say his first name? Athen or Athen?
No idea.
Okay, fair enough. But we'll go with Athen Kalakamanis. Kalikamani, whatever. We'll hear some announcements. Probably butchered it along the way. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure the Southerners got some hard names that we think are easy to pronounce, but the Northerners are, what in the world?
Boudreaux.
What's a Tipodox? Yeah. But once again, I think Minnesota. I got Minnesota going 7-5, 5-4 in conference. I think they dropped their games to North Carolina. At the end of the day, I think they dropped to Iowa and obviously Wisconsin. And then, they play Michigan and Ohio State. So good. Yeah, have fun. So, I think those are their 5 losses to me. I think they could easily turn 2 of those losses to wins. I think they have, unfortunately, they have a pretty tough schedule, though. The fact you have to play Michigan and Ohio State in the same season.
Yeah, and you're not even in their division.
I know that really stinks. And then on top of that, yes, you have to play Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's just tough luck. And then you play North Carolina away, I'm pretty sure. North Carolina's got a great quarterback. So, and for a team whose defense is not the selling point in Minnesota, really sucks for you. I don't know what to say. Tyler Nubin. Do you know how to say his last
Nah,
name?
I have no idea.
Yeah, pretty solid defensive back for them. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I got Minnesota third in my rankings too. Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota.
Okay, so I have Nebraska at 4 for me. They're kind of an intriguing team for me. Obviously, Matt Rule comes from Carolina. Total flop in the NFL. Does he have a chip on his shoulder? I mean, he turned around Temple very quickly when he was coaching in college. Um, we'll see if he has that in him again. Obviously, it's going to be tougher in the Big Ten. However, Nebraska is one of the most historical teams in the country. Um, let's see if he can make a difference year one. They do get a new quarterback after Casey Thompson hops on the transfer portal. I don't think he has a destination yet. Maybe they can get him back, but um, highly unlikely. And they were gutted by the transfer portal, obviously losing their head coach. And getting a new guy, especially a guy like Matt Rule who wants to make an immediate difference. I'm sure he processed some of those guys out. Um, One guy they brought in is Avery Gilbert, and if you're an LSU fan or a Georgia fan, you know exactly who this is. One of the most highly rated tight ends to ever come out of high school, Gatorade Player of the Year in Georgia at a Marietta High School. I mean, this dude is a unicorn, an absolute freak of nature playing tight end. Got the speed to run with anybody, the size of a tight end. I mean, honestly, drawing comps to Kyle Pitts was extremely credible. Like, dude looked like Kyle Pitts but bigger. Um, I mean, we'll see if he can unlock that potential and just really stay on the field because he's kind of had a hard time staying on the field the past few years. I think he's going through some mental issues, and thoughts and prayers go out to him. Hopefully, he can get all that taken care of. But yeah, I mean, hey, good luck to A. Reek.
Yeah, absolutely. I too have Nebraska at number 4 in my for my Western ranks. Yeah, I definitely think the coaching addition is going to help out a lot. Um, yeah, I definitely think Matt Rule is going to help out a lot. I got Nebraska, obviously. I got them. I got them losing to Minnesota. I got them also losing to Maryland, and then they play Michigan, Wisconsin. So I got them going 7-5, 5-4 in the conference, just like Minnesota, with definitely room to improve if they can find it.
Yep.
So I think, I think that's it for them. They could easily go 5-7 though. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but I kind of, yeah. I mean, they do have a tough schedule, but I do think they have a solid chance at outperforming what people predict them
Oh,
to be
without a doubt.
like.
Without a doubt. The last three teams in the division, I'll just kind of run through. Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern. I really don't want to take up too much time talking about these three teams. I hate to say it, no discredit to them, but they're just not going to be good this year. Purdue's getting a new head coach. Illinois has just never really been great. And I mean, do I even have to say anything about Northwestern?
Yes.
Trouble. Don't go there.
Fair enough. You say Illinois like they're a bad team. I got them fifth in my Western rankings. I think unfortunately they got cursed with a bad schedule this year. So I got them going 5-7, but no discredit of their own. Every single game they're going to play in is going to be close, I believe. Except maybe the Northwestern game and maybe the Indiana game. But every other game's gonna be close. They could easily, as I got them going 5-7. But I mean, just as I was saying for Nebraska, vice versa for Illinois. I think they could possibly go 5-7 if they somehow can pull out a win against Kansas. If they can maybe pull out a win against Nebraska, and I mean it's possible.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I mean, I think Illinois got a decent team, and they're not.
I don't think they're
I don't know.
horrible. I just don't think they're.
No, I mean they got Jazon Newton, D lineman. I may have mispronounced his first name. I apologize, but one of the best defensive linemen in the NCAA. That you just can't argue with that. They got Seth Coleman, outside linebacker. He's pretty solid. And then their offense. I mean, their defense is going to be really good. Offense. Grasping for straws here. Isaiah Williams, wide receiver. He'll probably be the bright spot in that offense.
Yeah.
Granted, there's probably not going to be many shining bright moments for that offense this season. I don't think, especially with the competition they play.
Yeah.
But yes, Purdue Northwestern, I could give a crap about, to be honest. So we can move on to the East. Okay. The East, if you like.
So my number one team in the East, I know they've won it the last 2 years. Michigan. I mean, they are stacked again. J.J. McCarthy coming back as their quarterback. Now, I will say this about J.J. McCarthy. Can he take another step in his game and be more of a playmaker instead of just a game manager? We'll see. I mean, he threw for 2,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, and only threw 2 interceptions last year. But I think that can absolutely be improved with the talent he has around him. And if I'm being honest, it really should be improved. You really like to see that yardage go over 3,000, the touchdowns be over 30. The interceptions obviously is great. 2 interceptions. He's keeping the ball on Michigan's side. And I know Jim Harbaugh's game plan is not to just air the ball out, but I mean, 2,722 for the quarterback of the Michigan Wolverines, I don't think is acceptable this year. I think if they want to have a chance to beat a Georgia or an Alabama or a team like that, they have to be able to throw the ball better than that. Now, I'm not saying that's poor by any means, because obviously it's good. But man, if he can improve though, could he be a Heisman dark horse? No, maybe.
Yeah, it's possible. And like you said, it's all about, if he can just open it up. I mean, turn it up that next level. He's a great quarterback. He's a great quarterback. Not definitely not the best quarterback. He's not going to overtake Caleb Williams or any of these other Drake May for number one quarterback in the nation. But granted, I mean, you're in an offense that just has an amazing O-line and some pretty good weapons around you.
Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, what a duo in the backfield.
Mm-hmm. And then all-name team Cornelius Johnson. I mean, it's pretty solid returning. He's going to be your wide receiver 1, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe
I'm
so.
not sure if he's. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's
Ronnie Bell did leave.
Yes, and so yes, and I also have Michigan number 1. I actually have them going undefeated.
I do as well. Making the playoffs, I think, obviously.
Yes, I think it's huge. You play Ohio State at home. I think that's absolutely huge. And I think, I think they're going to blow through the first 9 games of the season, and then really the last 2 out of the 3, you got Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. You should be able to beat Maryland, no questions asked. I think it's going to be a tighter game than most people are going to think, though. But Penn State and Ohio State, obviously, your 2 top competitors, both in your same division. But I think I don't know. I won't say they run away with those games, but I think at the end of the day, they're going undefeated.
They've blown Ohio State out the last 2 years.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's obviously a reason for that.
Yep, but
it's just a better team.
Yeah.
No, better team. And as a matter of fact, here's a bet responsibly moment. But I did put some money on them to win the championship this year. I think I bet on them at a plus 1,000 to win the championship.
I'm not sure what. Or Big Ten?
Oh no, national. Yeah, and I'm checking the stats or the odds right now. They actually bumped up. I bet on them when they were plus 1,000. I don't know how long ago that was. But now they're plus 850. So obviously some people are jumping on that train. The odds are getting lower. And I'm about it. I think they make the playoffs, and I think they could easily make some noise in the playoffs. I mean, it's for the value alone, all you really got to do is beat Georgia, worst case scenario. I mean, hey, there's your national champions right there. I'm not saying they win the national champions. I'm just saying from a betting perspective, they are a hard team to pass up.
Yeah,
Throw some
no
money
doubt.
on them, root for them for the season, because you're going to get hyped when they're 9-0 and they start playing Penn State, and that's going to be a good game. By the way, that's going to be a good game.
Yes,
Um,
100%.
oh man, uh, especially you're playing at Penn State this year, I believe.
Yes,
Man,
actually,
that's
that's
good.
one note that I have on them is that they play most of their notable games. I have notable games, just some intriguing games for me, but Nebraska, Minnesota, Michigan State, I think is an intriguing game because it's a rivalry game, and
Mhm.
state game. It's always
Yes,
good. And Penn State, all are away. The only notable game that I have at home for them is, of course, Ohio State. So
right.
it'll be interesting to see how they jump over that hurdle. Obviously, they're rich with talent and
Hmm.
great coaching. So I think they'll be able to. Obviously, I project them to go 13-0 and make the playoffs. But that is something to keep an eye out for. But it's easy when you got somebody like Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards in the backfield. I mean, that's the number one and the number 9 rated running backs in college football. So
Right,
that's
right, yeah.
just
I mean,
embarrassment of riches.
that's yeah, that's absolutely tough to pass up. Not to mention that you don't have the greatest defense in the country, but you don't really have a glaring weak spot
No,
in your
and
defense. So I think that kind of helps. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and they bring back two of the best defensive backs in college football, and Will Johnson and Rod Moore. Um, Defense, it's not terrible either. It's pretty darn good. It's not. I mean, obviously got touched up by TCU last year, but I don't think anybody saw that coming.
uh,
Expect them to come out with a chip on their shoulder this year, for sure.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So moving on to your number 2 team, I'm
Well,
assuming it's going to be.
I did have
Go
one more
ahead.
thing to say about Ohio State.
Okay, yeah, go
I
ahead,
mean,
go
not Ohio
ahead.
State, Michigan. They did have some key losses though.
Spoiler alert.
Obviously, Cade McNamara. Um, just for some depth at quarterback. Losing him kind of hurts a little bit. Maybe if Jaden McCarthy gets hurt, I mean, that could really derail their season.
Mm-hmm.
Maisie Smith, their D lineman, edge Mike Moores. He led Michigan and he ranked second in the Big Ten with 7.5 sacks in 2022. Cornerback DJ Turner, wide receiver Ronnie Bell, who had 14.3 yards per reception in 2022. He was definitely their deep threat guy. He was an incredible wide receiver. Their tight end Luke Schoonmaker, can't remember how to pronounce it, but he was a pretty legit tight end for him. And then one thing that a lot of people kind of pass up on, but I did notice that they lost both their kicker and punter from last year's playoff team. Jake Moody had been their kicker for a few years, so it'll be interesting to see how they transition from honestly a pretty solid kicker to who knows. I don't even know who their kicker is this year, so we shall see. But yeah, moving on to my number 2 team. So you said spoiler alert. That's kind of funny because they're not my number 2 team. My number 2 team is Penn State.
Okay.
um, I think there's a lot of question marks surrounding Ohio State, and obviously you got to be really careful when you drop Ohio State from even number 1 in the Big Ten to number 3 in their own division. But there are certainly question marks. I mean, Ryan Day has not won in the playoff. He hasn't won a national championship. Although I saw the statistics today, every single quarterback that he has coached at Ohio State has won in the first round. Or starting quarterbacks, of course, not backups, but it is. And with the wide receiver talent that they have, it is kind of concerning to me that they haven't won a national championship. I mean, they had Jackson Smith and Jigba obviously hurt last year, but the year prior, and they could only get to the Rose Bowl with C.J. Stroud and Mike Igbuka. I mean, they had Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. They were loaded at wide receiver, and they have been ever since Ryan Day's been there, and they just cannot get over the hump of winning a national championship. And obviously, one of the most prestigious universities in college football. Ohio State. But I think Penn State's a little bit more proven this year. Um, I think they have a better quarterback in Drew Aller.
Mhm.
I know he hasn't played, but he is a former 5-star recruit. I wasn't really high on Sean Clifford. I think he was good. He was a game manager, but I think they really need a playmaker at quarterback to take that next step in their program. Um, so he was the third-rated quarterback out of high school. So obviously highly touted. Everybody probably wanted him. 5-star, of course. Penn State landed him. So let's see if he can be a playmaker. If he can be a playmaker, I think they definitely beat Ohio State. Um, they have an unbelievable defense. They have Kalen King, Abdul Carter, Chop Robinson, Curtis Jacobs. Those are all guys in the top 100 college football players put out by On Three Sports. If you're not familiar with On Three Sports, they are a recruiting and college football website, and I think they do a great job with ranking recruiting and keeping up with the transfer portal and rating current college players, all that kind of stuff. So if you haven't heard of it, I'd suggest checking it out if you want to cover college football a little bit more. But even on offense, they have one of the best left tackles in college football, and Olu Fashanu. I'm not gonna lie, I probably butchered
Yeah,
that.
I'll say Fashanu. I can go with that.
Fashanu, and then
Yeah,
Nick
they don't have a
Singleton.
single they don't have a single easy last name on that offensive line. Actually,
No,
Wallace and Wormley, but
and then Nick Singleton at running back, the number 33 rated player by On Three in college football. He had 1,056 yards on 156 carries. That's 6.8 yards per carries and 12 touchdowns last year. Um, so I think he could be poised for a huge year this year at Penn State. Um, Now I know I said they beat Ohio State. I will say that game is away for them. Um, so it's going to be tough, obviously. But they do have a pretty simple schedule. They really don't play a whole lot of tough teams other than Ohio State and Michigan, obviously in division. So they kind of look up with that. So I think they squeaked by Ohio State in a 1-score game. Now they did lose their quarterback from last year, and the guy who was competing with Drew Aller for the quarterback spot this year, they lost the cornerback. But other than that, I think they kept pretty much their team intact. So James Franklin, it's time for you to prove that you're worth the money that you made last year. He's 78 and 36 at Penn State. So time to prove it, man. Overall prediction: 11-1, lost to Michigan. They'll play in the Rose Bowl.
I think that's fair. I have Ohio State going number 2. Their only loss being to Michigan. I got Penn State number 3, only losing to Michigan and Ohio State. Yes, Penn State's got it easy this year as far as their schedule is concerned. I really don't think they have a tough schedule at all. Granted, it sucks you have to play Ohio State and Michigan in the same year, but oh well. That's just the cards you've been dealt with, and those are your 2 most difficult teams. You got to play Maryland. I think Maryland's going to be the 3rd toughest team you play, which says a whole lot about their schedule. But yeah, no, I don't think they're going to be able to get over the hump that is Ohio State. I think Ohio State's got a more talented roster. I think they got better staff. I just don't. Ohio State's got a proven track record. You may say Penn State's got a little bit more, I guess, experience this year, but also to jump on the point where you're saying Ohio State, I think they just got loads of talent. It's talent. Talent just means so much in college, and
Yeah, it does. But
and
Penn State's got some talent too now.
yeah, and I think that will definitely be a game to watch this year as Ohio State and Penn State because that's definitely going to determine 2 and 3. But I think
It was a really competitive game last year. I know you're not a big college football fan, but I do remember. I think Ohio State pulled away towards the end, but if I remember correctly, it was a pretty competitive game. Look at the score. It was, of course, it was 44-31, and I think Ohio State got a strip sack and scored on a touchdown towards the end. A pick six towards the end. So, obviously a competitive game. They're only losing by 13. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. And like I said, I mean, they're close 2-3, definitely. Penn State, I think. I don't even know if I'd say their offense or defense is better. I'd say, I mean, they're honestly pretty similar. I know it's hard to compare, apples and oranges. But if you want to, like, what you always talk about a team strength, it's hard to say one way or the other which one is going to be their, strength or weakness this year.
I'll say this
And
about Penn
compared to the other.
State. Defensively, they force a lot of tackles for loss. So a lot of times the opponent's behind the chains on second, third down. So that's one thing to look at. I would say that Penn State's strength is probably their front seven on defense. But we'll see how that
Yeah,
goes.
for sure. They got so solid edge players, solid linebackers.
Maybe the best
Definitely.
linebacker in Abdul Carter.
Yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, I think they definitely got a solid defense. Granted, I mean, I'm not sure what their schedule looked like last year, but I bet some of their stats are probably going to be inflated this year just because, I mean, you started the schedule, the West Virginia, the other way, Illinois, and Iowa. That'll be a little bit tougher, and Northwestern and UMass. Wow,
Mm.
heck of our first 6 games. You're definitely going to look like a powerhouse playing any of those teams.
You look like an
And then you
NFL
got
team
Ohio
playing
State.
UMass.
Right. And then, not to say Ohio State's got it hard or anything. I do think they got a little bit more of a difficult schedule only because they play Notre Dame before they have to play
Yes.
Penn State. But,
That's
then
a
that's
game
definitely going to be.
they really
Go ahead.
potentially could lose to Notre Dame. I'm not a big
Yeah.
Notre Dame fan, but I do remember specifically that game being very competitive the first game of the year last year. So we'll see. We'll see what Ohio State, and I believe that game was in the horseshoe too, being at Ohio State when I say that.
Right. Yes. And, so yeah, I definitely think as long as I mean I got Ohio State going 11-1, Penn State 10-2. I do believe Ohio State can pull it out against Notre Dame, and I think ultimately they pull. I think they probably win by 2 or more scores against Penn State. Personally, I just think I really don't care how good your defense is in NCAA. I mean that an offense is just going to run right over it.
Yeah. I mean,
So
Marvin Harrison Jr., Amika Egbuka, Travion Henderson.
I mean Julian Fleming's pretty good too.
Julian
I say
Fleming's
pretty
highly
good.
rated. He's been a bit disappointing in college,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe we see a big jump from him this year. I don't know. Now, what do we see from Kyle McCord, though? That's the question. I think he's going to be what drives the offense, obviously, as a quarterback. He's going to be a lot different than C.J. Stroud. He's not going to be able to throw in the run like C.J. Stroud. He loves the pocket when he loses accuracy when he's moved from his spot. And the scouting report said he has pretty much concrete feet. He doesn't like moving. So we'll see if Ryan Day can get him out of that or get him more comfortable throwing on the run because they did lose a lot on their offensive line too. So expect there to be pressure, especially against Michigan. Michigan's got a nasty front seven. So
Right.
we'll see how they do there.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, who you got at number 4 for the East?
Real quick, I just want to say, how about Marvin Harrison Jr. last year? 77 catches, 1,263 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Just an unbelievable player.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. I mean, at the end, he's definitely going to be wide receiver 1 in the draft, and probably wide receiver 1 in college football this year.
Better than his dad? I don't know about that.
Yeah, Jury's still out on that, but yes, he's definitely a Blitnikoff front runner already.
What's happening?
So
number 4, I do have Maryland. So they don't have any players in On3's top 100, but they do have Talia Tagovailoa. I know if you're an SEC fan of any sort, you recognize that last name. Yes, it is Tua's brother. He's a senior this year. He's he's not bad. I know he probably doesn't get the rap that his brother does, and obviously he's not as good as his brother, but he's a solid quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he threw for 3,000 yards last year, only 18 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. You'd like to see the touchdown number up a little bit and the interception number drop down a little bit. But if we remember 2 years ago, he had them in prime position to upset Ohio State. And for a team like Maryland, that's a huge deal. Maryland should not be competing with Ohio State, and the fact that he was basically able to will them into that game and come within a 2-point conversion of beating them is massive. I think this year is make it or break it for Mike Locksley, though. He is 21-28 at Maryland. And they do have a pretty rough schedule. They play versus Virginia, at Michigan State, at Ohio State, versus Penn State, at Nebraska, and versus Michigan. Overall, I have them at 8-4 with losses to Ohio State, Penn State, Nebraska, and Michigan. They did lose a lot of their wide receiver production last year with Jacob Copeland, the former transfer from Florida. And if you're an LSU fan, just cover your ears. They lost Raheem Jarrett, obviously infamous for flipping the day of signing day after doubling down on his promise to go to LSU. Not a big fan of Raheem for that reason, but he did make the jump to the NFL this year, and he was their leading receiver last year. So it'll be interesting to see how they reload at wide receiver.
Right, and speaking of reloading, I know they got a couple transfers coming in. Chambers and Prather. I don't know how you say his last name, but some pretty solid. Yeah, some pretty solid transfers coming in, and then yesterday, O-line, little. You'd like to see a little bit more production out of them. That's definitely going to be the weak point of their offense.
Yep.
Granted, with Tagovailoa back there, I mean, I'm not sure you have much to be concerned about. As long as he can get it out quick, who cares? Defense, not too bad. Once again, could be better. I also have Maryland at number 4. I have them going 9-3, only losing to. You said they have a tough schedule, and they sure do because they have to play Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. But that's just how the dice roll. So there's your 3 losses right there.
Yeah.
I think they have a close game against Nebraska, close game against Michigan State. But if they can pull those 2 out, easy 9-3. I don't see Virginia as much of a threat. I don't really see them as a threat at all. I don't think they're that great this year.
I don't think they're going to be great either. I just always like to point out big Power 5 conferences playing out of in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to be an important game. But you have an advantage playing them at home. And like I said, Virginia, I don't think is all of that. And you get 2 great tune-up games against Towson and Charlotte.
Yeah.
So, that'll be my second bet responsibly of the night, of the day, is I had a bet on Maryland to hit over their win total. Their win total was set at 7.5. Let me see when I bet on it. I bet on it, I can't see, July 10th. So about 3 weeks ago. No, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. So I bet on them over 7.5. Their value right there. It was really good value, plus 134. The lines have moved tremendously. So I guess that's another thing people have hopped up on. Because I think it's minus money now. It's you got to bet to win. So I think Maryland can easily get 8 wins. I mean, like I said, I think they get 9 wins this season. I mean, at the end of the day, all you have to do is worry about close games between Michigan State and Nebraska, I think you could beat one of them too. I mean, I think you get at least 8 wins on the season. But yeah, I got them going 9-3 and 6-3 in the conference.
And going into Michigan State, first of all, coached by Mel Tucker. I hope he's thanking LSU for getting him a huge payday at Michigan State so they could retain him after a good year. I mean, dude, LSU made you rich and you don't even work for him, so props to you. But some players to watch for Michigan State: Darius Snow. He's easily their best pass defending linebacker. With 87 tackles and which 5.5 and tackles for loss in 2021. He's a pretty solid, just overall linebacker as well. Now he was injured in the first game of the season last year, so obviously no production last year, but we'll see if he can return to form from his 2021 self and even maybe improve himself. Caton Hauser, he's a redshirt freshman. We'll see how he does. He's got to lead your offense, so we'll see how that goes. And then Tunmon's Adelon. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he is a transfer defensive end from Texas A&M. He was a starter for the Aggies before injury, and if anybody watched the Aggies last year, they know their defense was certainly not an issue. Riddled with talent over there in College Station, as much as I hate to say it. I think it's only a matter of time before they blow up, but in a good way for them, bad way for us, but it feels like they have a lot of project players on their team. Like, nobody's just going to go out there and just be consistent week in and week out. It feels like there's a lot that you have to work with there. They did lose their starting quarterback, Peyton Thorne. He transferred to, of all places, Auburn. And they lost who was going to be their wide receiver 1 this year, and Keon Coleman. He did transfer to Florida State. I know LSU was in hot pursuit of him as well, being that he is from Louisiana. But I think he was looking to be a wide receiver 1, and I don't think he was going to get that with Malik Neighbors at LSU. So that's going to it's going to bite them in the butt this year, those two leaving. So I do have them going 6-6 this year with losses to. They have another tough schedule with losses to Washington, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, and Penn State. Just tough for them, really.
Yeah, most definitely. It's going to be tough for them. You're a little bit higher up on them than I am. I do have them at number 5, only based on their conference play, not their overall record, because like you said, they have a tough schedule. It is what it is. Michigan State fans are going to be happy because they're going to start out 2-0. Then after that, it's not going to be that great of a show. I got them going 4-8, 2-7 in the conference. I think they basically beat Central Michigan, Richmond. They beat Rutgers, and they beat Indiana, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
I think they lose to Maryland. It's going to be close games. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like they have no shot. At the end of the day, they're kind of what Iowa's offense is. It's like they're the opposite on defense. Like they have some really solid talent on defense, but boy, do they suck. Offense is going to be okay. I'll just say that okay, maybe a little less than okay. I don't know. Whenever your staff is subpar, you're going to get subpar production out of your players. So
yeah, and like I said, LSU got Mel Tucker at payday. I think he was not just a little overhyped, but a lot overhyped. Not sold on him as a head coach at all. Don't think he makes it past next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Michigan State's got some solid players, but no, I don't think they do that well this year. I said 4-8, 2-7, 5th in the East. This is solely based on their conference play, because I do think my next team, Rutgers, ranks 6 in my East rankings. I think, even though they're gonna have a better overall record than Michigan State, I think they only win 1 game in the conference.
Yeah, so my 6 and 7 teams are Indiana and then Rutgers. I think both are just not. They're not good. They're bad. Call a spade a spade. They're 2 bad teams. I do have them both going 3-9. Indiana finishing 6th in the Big Ten West East, and Rutgers finishing 7th. I'm not interested in spending a whole lot of time on them. They're just bad teams.
Yeah, no, I agree. Offense for Rutgers, I'm not even going to talk about Indiana. I got Indiana 7th. I got them going 2-10, 0-9 in conference play. I got Rutgers going 5-7, 1-8 in conference play. I think Rutgers got cursed with the schedule again, or else they may be a little bit better off. But at the same time, I don't know. Your offense, I mean, is probably one of the worst offenses in the NCAA. Which, for if you're a Big Ten team, that kind of hurts to hear. Defense, on the other hand, I mean, you got some. They get a lot of production out of their players who aren't necessarily the best players, but they do get a lot of production out of them, especially their pass defense. Now, once again, their schedule stinks. I do think they can go 5-7, eke out a 5th win somewhere along the way. I think more realistically they go 4-8, but I think 5-7 is a good ceiling, and I think that's where they finish. Indiana, not even going to talk about.
Yep. So I think that covers the Big Ten. Yeah, I mean the normal people up at the top, the normal people at the bottom.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean,
potentially the best conference in college football this year.
yeah, absolutely. I think obviously you have your bottom feeders, but then other than that, once you get past that, it's going to be some solid. I think there's 4 or 5 teams in each division that are going to be very competitive. East, I think you got about 4 teams. I think you draw the line between Maryland and Michigan State, and then the West is going to be a little bit more well-rounded. Granted, you still have your bottom feeders. Draw the line between Illinois and Nebraska. For me, and yeah, it's going to be a fun conference to keep up with this year. Some really solid players. You're going to see a lot of NFL caliber talent come out of all of these schools. Most of these schools, sorry, and you should see definitely a lot of fun games. You're going to be hearing a lot of maybe get some college game days out there, and some of these schools, and you're definitely going to be hearing, game of the week, tune in, for these schools. And
the game's going to be huge as always.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like I said, I hate to say it for the SEC, but yes, they may have gotten eked out by the Big Ten this year for the best conference. But we'll see. We'll see how their play goes. But I am high up on most of these Big Ten teams.
Yeah, I am as well. And I'm kind of low on some SEC teams, such as Alabama. Or no, I shouldn't say low, but lower than usual.
Lower than what we've become used to Alabama being.
Correct.
For the first time in forever, they have. I mean, what are they going to do at quarterback? I mean, I cannot believe you're saying that about an Alabama team.
You know what I can't believe is our backup quarterback at LSU is better than anybody that Alabama has. I cannot believe that I'm saying that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know it's just something. I mean, really, every NFL draft you hear, blah blah blah, quarterback Alabama. I mean, I'm probably in the first round, and or 2.
I mean, they've had. Think about their last 3
drafts. It was
Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and Mac Jones, and then Bryce Young. Golly, that's just a gauntlet of quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's just silly to think of.
And then, of course, the wide receiver talent that they always have. They're just like Ohio State in a sense. But that's another thing. They kind of low on wide receiver talent this year again.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how they develop those pass catchers. I think Nick Saban's obviously going to do a great job over there, per usual. I think they're going to be all right, but I am not as high as them as I usually am.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll save all the detailed talk for another day. But I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm down.
Gives
people something to look forward to. Yeah, absolutely.
But all right, guys. Well, that was the EZPZ show. That was our first true total show. Please join us again Friday for some breakdown. Friday, right?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to have some UFC talk, the biggest pay-per-view of the year. I'm excited.
Oh, man, I can't wait.
I've been looking forward to this ever since they announced the card, and I saw it all in one picture, and I could not believe it. My jaw was on the floor how good this card is going to be. I'm going to have some betting tips for y'all out there. I'm going to give y'all my predictions for the main card. maybe some prelims to look out for. I think overall this card's just stacked. I mean, top to bottom, it's rare you find even prelims that will probably be just as entertaining as the main card. And I mean, Dana White always puts on his Twitter. He's like, "Oh, you don't know now, you know." I mean, it really is true this Saturday. So, be there, be square. Be sure to buy the pay-per-view if you can, or illegally stream it. I really don't care what you do. Do what you can to watch it. It's gonna be some bangers, and we'll talk about that more on Friday. And by the way, if any of you listeners out there agree or disagree with our takes on the Big Ten, please let us know. Go to our Twitter account, add us, call us idiots, call us geniuses. We don't care. We'll argue with you either way, even if you agree with us. It's that's the beauty about this. We definitely want to hear you guys' feedback. So, I mean, obviously, me and Peyton don't agree on some of these things. So, especially, what we were torn on number 2 for the East between Ohio State and Penn State.
Yes.
So I say torn. You weren't torn, neither were I. But obviously, we kind of.
If our brain was put together, we were torn.
Yes, absolutely. So be sure to hit us up. Let us know what you think, and we'll definitely engage in some conversations if that's what you're all looking forward to.
Well, hope everybody has a great day.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all.